So, everyone's got the image in their mind that making a movie is a fun and exciting time for all involved. But unfortunately, as we've found out from numerous examples, there are times where people just show up to set and absolutely hate their time from start to finish. And that's what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 actors who hated working on their own movies. Number 10. Katherine Heigl, Knocked Up. Now, to be a little bit reductive, women in Judd Apatow movies don't really get to have a lot of fun. While the men are off getting into scrapes and learning important life lessons, the women, generally wives and girlfriends of said man-children, stand around with folded arms and permanently rolling eyes. They may get a quip or two to disdainfully spit, but that's about it. That was certainly Katherine Heigl's experience working on Knocked Up. Now, the film did a lot for her career, which she has always acknowledged, but she had issues with the character, who she felt was humorless and uptight. It's hard to argue with her here. Knocked Up, like much of Apatow's work, is flabby and loose, but even with its extended runtime, they couldn't even squeeze some funny material in for her character. Heigl didn't waste much time in voicing these views, critiquing the role only a year after release, but things didn't end too well for the actress. After Apatow and co-star Seth Rogen reacted badly to her comments, a sizable backlash hit Heigl, and arguably her career has never really recovered, which kinda makes you think she's got a point about sexism in the industry. Number 9. Dev Patel, The Last Airbender. The important thing in life isn't the mistakes that you make, it's the lessons that you learn after it. For Dev Patel, the experience of working on The Last Airbender was so disastrous that he made some pretty important career-altering decisions, which seem to have been working out pretty well for him ever since. Patel, who came up through Channel 4's Skins and the relatively small-scale Oscar-winning Slumdog Millionaire, felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer bigness of this production. The film was beset by controversy from the off, and this did not make for a happy set. Patel later told The Hollywood Reporter that he felt like he wasn't even listened to on set and saw a stranger on the screen that he just couldn't relate to when it came time to seeing the production in full. Patel doesn't assign blame to anyone in particular, but rather chalks this up to experience. When you get involved with a production as big as The Last Airbender, you're just another moving part. Patel has taken the experience to heart and has since devoted his time to smaller and more interesting projects. And if it keeps him away from disasters like The Last Airbender, then it was a lesson well worth learning. Number 8. Halle Berry, Catwoman. You have to hand it to Halle Berry. She took this particular disaster like a champ. Catwoman came before the modern superhero boom and accordingly was not a sure thing in terms of box office. But Catwoman didn't just bomb, it failed spectacularly. A colossal failure both critically and commercially. No one came out unscathed, but first in the firing line was Halle Berry, only a few years removed from her Oscar win for Monsters Ball. Her performance was rightly reviled, and she went on to win the Golden Raspberry Award for the Worst Actress of the Year. To her credit, not only did she show up to the ceremony, but she made light of the whole mess with a faux emotional speech in which she thanked Warner Brothers for casting her in such a dreadful film. As many actors in similar positions find, the money definitely helped. Berry is still happy to talk about and make fun of Catwoman to this day, and with a career like hers, there's no reason for her to feel ashamed of a disastrous project, even one on this monumental scale. Number 7. Tim Roth, United Passions. So all of us have had pretty crappy jobs in our times, but few of us have ended up shilling for a corrupt sporting official. A job's a job and all, but Tim Roth's role as a deposed FIFA president in United Passions is a resume lowlight. Roth stated in a 2015 interview that he was in a financial hole when he took the role, and has done everything he can to distance himself from the inevitable fallout. He is yet to see the film, which is true for most people to be fair, and offered an apology for having anything to do with the whole mess. He went so far as to say that his father would be turning in his grave for having anything to do with glorifying a man like Blatter. United Passions' box office receipts must have been music to Roth's ears. It didn't even clear the $200,000 mark. Hopefully the work managed to ease the monetary worries because he won't be wanting to do something as shameful as this ever again. Number 6. Mark Wahlberg, The Happening. No stranger to making rash comments, Mark Wahlberg barely waited for the dust to settle on The Happening before publicly bashing it. The M. Night Shyamalan disaster about evil trees was destined for failure from the off, but Wahlberg went in 2 feet first before the body was even cold. At a press conference for The Fighter, Wahlberg confirmed that he only took on The Happening to work with Amy Adams, who smartly managed to remove herself from the project before filming began. Adams dodged the bullet, as he went on to say. Given Marky Mark's often questionable quality control, it must have taken a lot for him to truly regret a job. He admits that he took the role in The Happening because he got the chance to play a science teacher rather than the usual line of coppers, criminals, or a permanently scowling soldier. It didn't work out, clearly. There's no shame in taking risks that don't pay off, but an actor like Wahlberg may be best advised to stick to what he does best. Number 5. Emilia Clarke, Terminator Genisys. Throughout its history, the Terminator franchise has made for an unforgiving workspace. From the dictatorship that was the direction of James Cameron to the volatile temper of Christian Bale, each installment of the sci-fi franchise has seemed like a pretty trying place to ply your trade. Things were no different on 2015's dreadfully titled Terminator Genisys, whose star Emilia Clarke openly stated that the film's relative financial failure was actually a relief to her, as it guaranteed any sort of sequel would be scrapped. She didn't go into much detail as to the specific discomforts, but reading between the lines, it sounds as though studio interference was a major concern. Director Alan Taylor, with whom Clarke had worked on Game of Thrones, was eaten and chewed up during production, per Clarke's statements. She went on to say that no one had a good time and that a sense of joylessness pervades the fifth installment of the franchise, which itself is an exercise in mediocrity. A film set is a place of work and doesn't have to be fun, but when it's this aggressively unfun, it tends to seep into the finished product. Number 4. Tim Rose, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Everyone has an opinion on the latest Star Wars, of course. It's the exciting conclusion to cinema's biggest franchise, and with expectations so great, there was no way of pleasing everyone with the ending. But one surprisingly unhappy voice was Tim Rose, who is best known for puppeteering the ever-memeable Admiral Akbar. Rose has portrayed the character for some 40 years, so it's understandable that he grew pretty attached to the role and his part in the historic series. His criticisms, though, seem a little strong. He feels that his character was disrespected and that he was expecting Akbar to play a more pivotal role in the epic finale. While his disappointment is understandable, it seems a little odd that Rose would imagine the character would suddenly become integral to the final throes of the series. Akbar was never a major player. He's an alien with a catchphrase. He spoke in an interview of crying in the suit because he was so upset with the character's treatment. Clearly, he was very invested. Number 3. Megan Fox, Transformers. When it comes to burning your professional bridges, Megan Fox took the nuclear option. Now, there are some things you can walk back from, but comparing your director Michael Bay to Hitler is probably not one of them. Fox's star was on the rise by the time that she was cast in Transformers, but the blockbuster feature-length toy advert catapulted her to the A-list. By her own admission, the success was far too much and far too soon for the then 21-year-old. She described the experience as a breakdown and notably shied away from projects of that scale in the aftermath. While Fox has never gone into specifics of Bay's behavior, this was clearly a dark time in her life, and one which she has only begun to speak about publicly as of late. Bay's response was to bristle and offer a sarcastic apology. 3 crew members of the film wrote a creepily sexist letter in which Bay, in a misguided moment, posted briefly on his website. Luckily, these days seem to be behind Fox now, who has settled down and is approaching the industry at her own pace. And the most important thing is that at least she's been able to move on. Number 2. Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, Twilight. The careers of the stars of the Twilight saga seem a direct response to the dreadful time that they had acting in the adaptation of Stephanie Meyer's young adult series. Both are now bona fide art house stalwarts, and while they'll treat themselves to the odd blockbuster, cough cough Batman, they've made an effort to distance themselves from the series that made them household names. Now, the pair have been taking shots at the franchise, its plot holes, its wild fans, and the quality of their own acting pretty much since the first film came out. In interviews and on TV, they could just not hide their negativity. But their misanthropy reached its peak on the DVD commentary for the first film, in which the actors, Pattinson particularly, takes pot shots at the movie for the entire runtime. Now, it's good-spirited, he mainly cracks wise at his own expense, but clearly there's an element of regret for both performers. Both have freed themselves from Twilight's shadow, and their disgust seems to have been tempered into amusement. But had their careers not gone so well, odds are you'd have 2 bitter former teen heartthrobs on your hands. And number 1, David Cross, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Chipwrecked. Now, sometimes when an actor hates a movie, an interviewer will strive to coax the negative comments out of them, but that wasn't necessary with David Cross. The comedian wasted little time in firing shots at the franchise at a press conference for an entirely different project. Cross described the final film of the trilogy as, without question, the most unpleasant experience I've ever had in my professional life. No doubt the project was lacking in artistic merit, but it seems that there was more to it than simple creative differences, with Cross stopping just short of naming the individuals who made the process so unpleasant. It's worth remembering that this was Cross's third film in the Chipmunk saga, so it's tough to be too sympathetic for somebody who clearly didn't learn his lesson the first 2 times, but the final film was evidently a particularly distressing experience. The money no doubt helped, but for a comic like Cross to be taking a job like this must have been unpleasant enough without a toxic working environment to contend with as well. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 actors who hated working on their own movies. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, where the O score is a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, my friends, because you deserve all of the best things in life, and don't let anyone or anything tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and absolutely smash it today. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.